Good evening. This is the March 14th, 2018 meeting of the Finance Committee. Just about 7 o'clock. Our agenda tonight, we have one transfer request. We're going to be reviewing the school budget and then adjourn. Obviously, school budget is the biggest in town and arguably one of the most important. So to start this off, anyways, let's take care of this transfer. I think, yeah, we've got a quorum, so. The transfer request, this is under Human Resources, a transfer to the OPEB actuarial, the OPEB report. Amount requested is $1,000. This is from the unemployment account. I had a quick discussion with the CFO this morning. This is for our next OPEB study, which I believe is done every other year, Ed?
Actually,
No.
maybe I didn't understand the question.
Yep.
This is for the actual audit that's being conducted this year. There's a new GASB requirement. I believe it's GASB 4547 that requires an annual update to the OPEB liability, but the actual OPEB audit will be conducted this year. This is part of the annual audit,
Okay.
a new requirement.
So needless to say, we don't have an updated OPEB number. That's our liability to share. That was my biggest
Correct.
ask on that. Okay, that's fine. I know two of our members just joined us here. So this is a $1,000 transfer for the OPEB actuarial report. Do we have any questions or comments on this?
No.
We have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. All right, and Dr. Brunel is here. Great to see you. And I assume you have a presentation for us.
We do.
The Brains Trust from the school department.
So thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Mr. Kazanovich and Ms. Kwiatkowski. Thanks for the opportunity to present the school district's FY19 budget. So as the quote notes, unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. And with that, I'd like to thank the leadership team as well as all members of the Auburn Public Schools team, including the school committee, for their work, not only in creating this budget, but also their daily work with students and staff. So as we've done since I arrived back in 2008, we really drove this budget based on our core value, our mission, and our vision. Those items there have actually been supported by community members. Back in 2013, there were about 120 of us that gathered, and most recently, this past November, there were 140 that joined us as well. But as we've done with those core values and those mission and vision, it's really driven our decisions, but it's always been against the question of how will this impact students and their achievement. As we all know, students are the reason that we're there, and our job is to promote and support them. So this is actually a picture from November 18th that we had 140 community and school representatives. Up in the upper left-hand corner is actually the one-page document of the strategic plan that was created back in the spring of 2014 from information gathered in the fall of 13. So we are in the process now with a subset of these individuals of working together to create a new strategic plan. Our intention is to have one ready for the school committee. We have a meeting upcoming on March 29th, and then again on April 12th, so hopefully to go before them in May sometime. So this budget, though, specifically speaks to priority areas as set by the school committee and leadership team. Student safety is one, and you've heard me say it before, it's absolutely paramount. When parents send their children to school, it's with the expectation that they will be supported there so that they can work, learn, grow, and thrive, but that they will be safe throughout each day. As evidence, there are some things added in this budget that speak directly to student safety. So the social, emotional health and safety of students is something I'm sure we've all heard an awful lot about. We'll be adding, completely with grant funds, a BCBA, which is a board-certified behavior analyst. We have one on staff already, but that's really to help us get at the root cause of some children's issues and best support them so that they are ready to accept academic supports and achievement. We're going to be increasing slightly the hours of our athletic trainer to support kids during athletic events. Per IEPs, individual education plans, we are adding some ABA and IA support. That's required for children with specific needs to help them find success. We will be adding a one-to-one nurse that's going to be required for a student due to medical need. And then also the maintenance of safety funding. Those are items that are recommended by our safety advisory team, and I want to give them huge thanks. Today we had an activity up at the high school, but they support our work the whole year through. It's representatives of school, fire, police, and our building inspector as well. Student achievement, obviously, is another top priority in the district. We truly believe in the ideals of continuous improvement and educational excellence. Some evidence of that you will see in this budget is we're requesting a health teacher at Auburn Middle School to support students' wellness. A grade 4 teacher will be required to address class size issues there. We're going to continue with our early college opportunities. We're starting to have great success with that. For a mere $100, students are able to earn 3 credits through QCC that they can transfer into college. Our preschool program continues to be funded and helps to remove barriers. So school committee recently last year put in place a sliding fee scale, and we're going to continue with that. We have multiple beyond the school day opportunities ranging from our primary schools all the way through high school, and we've got IA and ABA support for the unified sports program for some of our most special kids to participate in athletics. Another priority area is class sizes, to really maintain those at appropriate levels. As noted already, we'll be adding a grade 4 teacher at Swanson Road and adding a kindergarten IA to Packagug. If you remember last year, we eliminated a primary teacher there due to a decreased enrollment, but with that numbers increasing, we'll need an IA to support those kids. And in terms of technology, and this is with sincere thanks to all of you on finance, town meeting members, the select board, school committee, through our CIP, through the FF&E of the Auburn Middle School project, all of our students in grades 6 through 12 have a one-to-one iPad 24/7 during the school year. At grades 3 to 5, they have it during the school day, one-to-one, and it's an approximate 1-to-3 ratio at our primary schools. But with that level of technology, and we do have other besides that, it does require support to be sure that teachers are capable and well supported in integrating it. So we'll be adding a technology support person. In terms of textbooks, the goal is always to ensure that we have current, up-to-date textbooks, and the priority really next year, we'll be purchasing them this year, will be the implementation of science materials based on new science standards that were just released about a year ago. The Educator evaluation system, this is something that we have embraced since it first came out through the Department of Ed, and we're going to continue our learning walks, and while there is no monetary increase in the budget to it, it's important to note because it's really the work that our administrators do to be sure that we're holding all teachers across the district to the highest of standards. Professional development, that's really the backbone of what we do. In order to make sure that our teachers are prepared to hold our students to high expectations, we need to provide them with opportunities to continually learn. Through this program, we just had a tremendously successful professional development day. We actually did it in concert with Leicester Public Schools, primarily the secondary, on Monday. And it was a great program led off by inspirational speaker Chad Hamus, who was simply outstanding and so timely with the times and the challenges that we're currently facing. And then the strategic plan implementation, as I said to you, we're in the process of putting that together. We're maintaining the same 5 goals: teaching and learning, technology, community partnerships, health, wellness, and safety, and transitions that we had back in 2013. So I thank all of those individuals instrumental, both there on the World Cafe as well as helping to craft it now. So in terms of new staffing requests, this is an overview of what I've just presented to you that we'll be looking for. So we've got a health teacher, a kindergarten IA. Directly related to IEPs, we have 2 ABAs and a school nurse, as well as 2 preschool IAs and a preschool ABA. Again, those are all very specific in terms of IEPs. The grade 4 teacher at Swanson is to maintain appropriate class sizes. The technology support person, the BCBA with an asterisk indicating that that will be completely grant funded. We're adding 2 unified sports coaches. Those are the individuals who actually will coach our unified track and our unified basketball teams. And then a JV boys lacrosse coach. That program is simply taking off exponentially, so we're looking to add a JV coach as well. So in total, in terms of positions, it's an increase of $289,210 to the budget. Important to note, though, is in this budget, it reflects almost $2.7 million, $2,678,846 in offsets that are used to minimize the impact. So whether that is through grants, school choice funds, Medicaid receipts, building rental, athletic revolving, and all of our revolving accounts are used to really reduce the impact to the budget. So in total, the Auburn Public Schools request is $25,849,562, which represents an increase of $867,801, or 3.47% over our approved FY18 budget. Important to note in that, however, is per Governor Baker's proposed FY19 budget, he is indicating an increase in Chapter 70 money for Auburn of $881,543, which is more than the school department's requested increase. Now, the budget still has a long way to go. The House and Senate have to weigh in on that. But historically speaking, the governor's numbers are generally the lowest. We've not seen a reduction from that number. Sometimes we've seen an increase, but we've not seen a reduction historically speaking. So the budget is numbers that is designed to support our program, and I thought it important to just highlight some of the ways that the Auburn Public Schools, and really we shine when our students shine and when our teachers really excel in the classrooms. So in terms of students achieving at high levels academically, there are photos here of National Honor Society induction ceremonies, the We the Pupil. This actually had won 2 consecutive state championships. They were not as successful last year. They actually won a wild card this year, so they're heading to D.C. In April. The National Junior Honor Society at the middle school has just enjoyed its 3rd year induction, I believe. Our Model UN students, Model United Nations, do just an absolutely amazing job. And then you can see also a photo of Student Success Night at the middle school. So it's important that they achieve at high levels academically, but they also achieve at very high levels artistically. So whether it is our students performing in the Rocket Marching Band, instrument lessons at grades 3 through 5 have just taken off at Swanson Road. This shows some tape art that was actually done last year at Auburn Middle School, and plays, and I'll use this opportunity for a plug for Shrek Jr. for Auburn Middle School will be upcoming this weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then Mary Poppins will be the weekend of April 6th at the high school. Just phenomenal programs. Additionally, they really achieve at high levels athletically. So you see a photo there of the town race. The boys tennis team, our girls softball team in 2016 were district champions, and then our unified sports teams, in which we all take great pride, where some of our most special students are supported by peers, and it's just an absolutely amazing experience for everybody involved. And then we also believe in providing really valuable, high-quality, beyond-the-school day experiences. Now, whether they are Saturday opportunities, whether it is having some Chinese students come from modified exchange and staying with students and going to our school, kids going over to Madrid, or actually attending various opportunities on the weekends and evenings, it really does provide beyond-the-school day experiences. And then none of this can happen without the best of staff that we have. So all of our support staff is highly qualified. All of our team members are truly dedicated and talented. And nearly 80% of our teachers hold a master's degree or higher. But none of it can happen without teamwork. So I and Mrs. Worsbicky are here presenting this to you, but it starts at the top with the school committee, with the leadership team, but with all members of our team really rowing in the same direction, which is the success of the students of Auburn. So in closing, I would share another quote, this one from Aristotle, that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So we are committed to continuous improvement. I thank you for your past support. I look for your current and future support, and end with our phrase, we are Auburn. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Brunel. We've got 2 parts of the budget. We have the CIP and the operating budget. Obviously, we're approving one number, which would be the operating budget. I want to open it up to questions before we just go to that one number anyways.
Sure.
In any order, any questions at all? I've got a couple of questions anyways, so. Kev?
Just briefly, that fourth grade position added to Swiss,
Yes.
what are the increases in enrollment for that grade? Is that a MCAS year? What class sizes? How would that,
So fourth grade is an MCAS year. Students first take MCAS 2.0, it's now called, in third grade, but then also in fourth grade. They take it in multiple subjects that year. So with the addition of this position, it will actually get the class sizes below 25. We have a couple that are above that right now. So the class sizes, there are 8 currently, so there'd be 9. The class sizes will be between 22 and 23 per classroom. But it's a pivotal year, certainly. They often say that children are taught to read up to and through grade 3, and then beyond, they're using what they've read and their knowledge of that to really be able to absorb content. So it's a critical year for that to happen.
thank you.
Anything else? Trevor? Valerie? Anything at this point? Ed? Ian?
Yeah, a couple of questions. I wanted to ask you about school choice. Does our district, how do we net out? Do we have more coming in than students going out?
We do. We have currently, I believe, 64 students who come in, and I would tell you we have a waiting list. We won't be drawing for next year until April 1st, but I would say we have a waiting list of about at least that many and probably closer to 80 on the waiting list. So this has been a intentional decision by the school committee. We really watch our school choice, our enrollment numbers, so we only have it at middle school and high school, and I don't, for the foreseeable future, imagine it would go to elementary. And I think at some point, if our enrollment just of students in town increases, I may recommend that we not continue. But any child in currently gets to stay through graduation.
Okay, thanks. I mean, because it's a revenue source because we know that pretty much overall, I think school populations are declining.
Right.
How many students do we have go out?
So I've just recently actually sent a survey to all of the students who are eligible to attend the Auburn schools, whether they go to a private school, whether they do school choice, or even if they do homeschool. I didn't send it to the Bay Path students because I look at that as an annex of ours. So we sent, I think, 36 surveys out to those individuals, and we're starting to get the data back, and it's for a variety of reasons that they go. But we don't have that many that do school choice. We do have a fair number that go to some of the private schools in Worcester, and a lot of times, at least based on the last survey we did a few years ago, a lot of it is a family tradition that they continue on.
Okay, thank you. There's another.
Sure.
I was wondering about the bus contract. Where are we in terms of the contract? What year are we in, and things like that?
So we actually just extended the contract. So through the work of Mrs. Worsbicky, we were able to secure a very reasonable rate. She had done a lot of research in terms of what other districts were going out and what rates were coming in at, so it was best to extend it, so we did. We're in a good shape.
All right. And do we still participate with French River when it comes to purchasing heating oil and things?
We do. We participate with French River, and isn't there another one we do now, too?
The Tech Collaborative.
Yeah, so the Tech Collaborative, we do some work with them, and our food service also reaches out to another organization. So we try to do collaboration and outreach whenever we can try and save some monies, definitely.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
We've also used that, we've become members of the Aspen Valley Collaborative, which has helped us tremendously with some of our
Yep.
professional development and working with some of the students. So,
Okay, thanks. And I just had a question about the health teacher coming on, I think, at the middle school, I think it was.
Yes.
Now, is there a required curriculum for health to be taught to the middle school students?
There is, and actually, this is somewhat of an outreach from our work. We have a youth opioid prevention team. Actually, Mr. Kazanovich and Ms. Jacobson are on it, as well as the 2 chiefs, Board of Health representatives. And we wrote a grant and received it through the Attorney General's office. And we're implementing a program to really try to help bolster our students' skills to be able to say no and to recognize danger in things. So this health teacher is actually going to help to administer part of that program. We got an LSP, the Life Skills Program as well, that our guidance do. But there is a component that is mandated in the frameworks that she or he will be implementing.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set?
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else? Kev?
Just another question as it relates to another budget that we'll see that'll come in. I believe it's the Youth Commission comes in, and they utilize primarily, I believe, most of their funding goes over to Auburn Youth and Family Services, who in turn provides some services for the school department. Is that, am I correct?
Correct.
And that, can
Correct.
you just explain that relationship and just as it relates to when we ask questions about
Sure.
the budget, how it relates to the school department?
So we have well, first of all, I think the town of Auburn is so fortunate to have Auburn Youth and Family Services as an agency in town, and we have a very strong collaboration with them. They provide, as part of the contract with the town, X number, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, of hours of counseling and support to students. They do that primarily at the middle school and high school. They run over on those hours every year. I mean, one thing that I say to Sally Darkangelo, the executive director, the word no is not in her vocabulary, which is a credit to her and what she does. And I think she would say it's the same with us, that we work together. So they come into the schools and provide some counseling and support. The social service agency aspect of it, we connect with regularly. But a lot of our students go there for after-school support as well. So it really is a dynamic relationship that the support that we get, we have a number of guidance counselors, adjustment counselors, the BCBA in district, but without that additional support from AYFS, we would be wanting for more, for sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah?
I was going to ask about the teacher contract. Is this the last year of the current contract?
It is. So we're currently in negotiations with them now. We actually had a session earlier today, and we hope to bring that to closure within the next few sessions. So it seems to be going well.
Okay, thank you.
The other two contracts through the chair that we're currently negotiating is the ABA, the Applied Behavior Analyst Assistance, I should say, and the school nurse contracts, all of which are going well.
All said? Good. Dr. Brunel, just going through a couple of the budgets, and this is very likely redundant on what you just presented to us. I'm kind of old school. I like going building by building.
Sure.
And I think we have less buildings now, so this should
We
be
do.
quicker than, past
Okay.
years. Should be. And I'm just going on dollar increases, budget versus prior year budget. If you could just, as a reinforcement to us saying, hey, this school we added one teacher, didn't add a teacher, we lost a teacher, blah, blah, blah. And I'm actually going to start with the central administration building because that budget went up $474,000 or, I don't know what I had, 16.6%. Does that ring a bell relative to the budget? I know you don't build it that way.
So I would say to you, reflected in there within the central, are you talking about the central office budget?
Yeah.
So that actually reflects, there are monies set aside for contract negotiations
Okay.
that are included in there. Also degree changes, teachers must notify us in October of any degree change that they may be eligible for. So those in there would be reflected. You also would see bus contract increases, so that's probably the net increase, I would imagine.
Okay, and I'm not looking for specific dollars on any of these questions. Bryn Mawr, there was a $189,000 increase or 7.7%.
So that there, I can tell you, is what we try to do at our two primary schools. So we've clustered our most special needs students at that level are at the Bryn Mawr schools. So that would be due to increased staffing to support those young kids' needs.
Okay. I find it interesting, if I heard correctly, that the Swanson Road School, you're adding one teacher at
Yes.
least. Yeah, that budget's only going up 77 grand or 1.9%. So there's got to be some, I'll say offsets here that I think probably are worth noting.
They are, and I will tell you that what we do is we look at our IA and ABA support. So we have some students who will be leaving that school and going up to the middle school, some shifts. This budget also reflects any intended retirements of which we're aware, so that also has an impact to the budget as well.
Okay. And I guess following along that same reasoning, the high school and the middle school are both going up like 1.5%. Are you adding staff or just kind of mix of staff?
So really, at the middle school, we're adding the health teacher.
Right.
At Auburn High School, we are not adding any staff. Now, whether any of the IAs or ABAs shifted due to students who'll be going up, I'd have to look, but we're not adding any new staff at the high school.
We also have the NEAS coming, that's a one-time cost that's in the budget as
Yep.
well for the high school.
Yeah, was that picked up under the pupil services? And I'm just following along the budget as you guys presented to us, or was it still put in the high school?
NEAS was put in the high school.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's specific to the high school.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. And I noticed only really a modest increase in the sports and arts budget. Was there some pressure on that to keep that in line, or, I mean, you seem to have some pressure you add in the lacrosse or making
Sure.
additional team to the lacrosse
Yeah.
program.
No, I think that, in terms of the process that we went through with all of the administrators was them to come in and present their requests, and then there was discussion as a leadership team about some reductions. But no, I think it's, we believe it's really important, as the PowerPoint suggested, to make sure that we're providing opportunities for students at all levels, certainly for fine arts and athletics as well.
Okay. Last question would be on the pupil services budget. And this was one I didn't have a chance to look at any detail, so I apologize. That went down by 128 grand. Was that just a change in structure in that?
It was actually, if you'll remember, last year, with the support of Mr. Kazanovich and Ms. Jacobson, there was in this Finance and Select Board as well, there were a number of issues that happened last January that caused us to request a fairly substantial increase to the tune of almost $350,000 in that area. Some of those needs have come to bear, and others we've been able to handle in district. So through the Special Education Stabilization Fund, so I want to thank Mr. Kennedy and Mrs. Holstrom for being a part of that. I think that policy will be coming before you shortly. We hope to be able to transfer some money into there, but this budget is built based on current needs, plus a placeholder should a surprise arise.
Okay, that's fine. With that, that's all the questions I had on the operating budget. Any other follow-up questions on this? Okay, that's great. So we have before us, I'll say a town manager recommended budget, and I think with some arm twisting, your school committee agreed to this. All due respect, $25,849,562, which is an increase of $867,801, or 3.47% over the prior year appropriation. Do we have a motion on this?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're just going to move on to the CIP.
Okay?
And I still haven't figured out the best way to figure out a CIP where we move some stuff around here and there, whatever. My first question is, I'm still trying to figure out, did we really decide on a way to fully fund the replacement of the athletic field, or do we just have a starting point of 300 grand from stabilization? I couldn't figure it out. Ed?
So, based upon several discussions and ultimately making a commitment to fund a portion of stabilization in FY20 of a value of $300,000, we were able to at least commit to 50% of the total cost of the turf upfront to minimize our borrowing costs. That being said, the following 3 years provides a sum of money to meet that obligation. So year 1 would be $300,000. Years 2, 3, and 4, it's part of the high school. Let's take a quick look. It's part of the building rehab high school value for 21, 22, and 23, at a value of 100, right, or was it 120?
120,
120?
yes.
120. So that would provide for some interest costs if we were to borrow that, either short-term or long-term. So we believe that value is sufficient enough to meet the estimated cost of replacement of that turf.
Okay, good, thank you. Like I said, there were a lot of notes, I understand.
So, and I want to thank Dr. Brunel and Cecilia for being patient. I think we said that we would be willing to commit a portion of stabilization, provided that we continue to feed the stabilization, and there's evidence to show that we have done that.
Okay, good. I'll open it back up to questions by anyone else on this. Anyone? Kev? No? Good. Ian? Ed? I got a couple more questions on this. Are we taking a year off on the iPad initiative, or is it?
So we are in terms of through CIP, but we won't be taking it off. It's actually with funds that we've set aside for that in our budget.
Okay. Is that from the operating budget?
No, it's actually from insurance costs that we've collected, so we're going to be able to use those to pay for
I
it.
know you had mentioned that in the past, so
Yes.
that's very good. I do have, it's as much a concern and maybe a comment versus a question. The education equipment, and I know we're always needing to replace, upgrade, that kind of thing on it, and I don't want to fall behind on it. Just seems those numbers are all over the board without a lot of detail behind that. And do we really spend all that money every year on this? And
We truly do. I mean, and part of that would reflect the copier lease payment for copiers that we have across the district, which is a fairly expensive endeavor for the number of copy machines. So that is more or less a fixed cost that's in there every year. We do, in fact, one of the things that we're looking at now, we still have some of the computers at the high school from when that building first opened. Now, outside of the iPads, technology just, and they're too old. They should have been replaced already. So it really is on a cycle of trying to replace and keep them as current as possible. With the monies actually from 18 and 19, that should move us ahead pretty significantly.
Okay, good, I'll leave it at that. Would it make sense to break out, those copier costs that significant, that could be broken out? Just in terms of, you know what, we've got mostly brand-new and rehab schools, so therefore it should be pretty straightforward on our normal upkeep. We don't want any to defer maintenance, but what do we have left here? We've got copiers, lease, that kind of stuff. We have furniture for the students to sit on, and we would have tech equipment. And I'm certainly oversimplifying it, but it'd be nice to break those out kind of going forward. I would expect that the furniture for the students to sit on the desk, that kind of thing, it's going to have a little bit longer of a shelf life. It'd be nice to see the copier expense. I would say that's all contracts anyways, right, multi-year?
Yep.
So we could just see what's going on with those going
Sure.
forward.
We can do that.
I would think you have the ability within the process of building this budget.
Absolutely.
That'd
we
be
can do
nice.
that.
It would be nice to see.
Okay, we'll make sure to do that going forward.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Kevin?
Just while we're talking copiers and contracts, are those things that when we look for, when you look for contracts and you go to whoever the, multiple companies are out there, do we incorporate all the towns? Do we try and get a town-wide lease with these companies to say, instead of 12 school department copiers contracts, we have another 15 town-wide that we can roll into this and get a better rate for machines and replacement? Are those discussions, do they ever happen between the towns and the schools when we're trying to reduce costs on?
I think for purchasing, well, I think it's fair to say that most of these copies are done off a Massachusetts state contract, so
Right.
we're getting the best pricing that we can. Problem being is we try to, on the town side, we try to keep our copies consistent with the same vendor for better buying power, quite honestly, as well as maintenance. So But the problem being is, a copier is, all depending on where it resides, some are high-volume copiers, others are not.
Right.
So we typically have a high-volume copier on the first floor of this building, and next door, and on the second floor of this building. Other than that, and they're networked, so you can go from your PC to the copier, or directly to the copier, scanning capability, whole 9 yards. But the copier's life is really driven by the volume that it's being used, and because we have more capabilities, that volume tends to increase annually rather than decrease. So we have to look at what the pricing will do for that copy in the short term as well as the long term, what the residual buyout is at the end of the term, and all those factors change from year to year depending on state contract pricing and what various vendors offer. So we try to get the best pricing we can. I know the schools try to do that, same bulk buying on their end, but I think their needs are a little different than what our needs are, because they may be more higher volume given the, the distribution of materials.
I know we run sort of in parallel worlds with the schools and the
Yeah.
municipal budgets, but, are those the type of things that we should be exploring to, reduce costs by, hey, we've got this vendor on the hook for this rate, if we bring the schools in, can we drop it down for everybody? Just
Yeah.
future
Yeah,
thoughts and consideration, that's all.
typically the Mass State contract pricing is what it is, regardless of how many people are jumping in, so to that extent, we're limited. But outside of that, we may have some negotiating power, but it would require a bid, and it gets pretty complex when you're trying to fold all these in at the same time. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good point, Kev. Dan?
Question, where are we on the middle school? Is that project almost ready to be closed up and approved by the state?
It is. We finished the gym humidification system. That's actually just been recently closed out, and we had a meeting of the SBC a week or two ago. We've got a meeting that we're hoping to schedule in April or May, and the plan is to send it forward for audit in May, so that way it can be fully closed out in August.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And further to that, Ed, how much of that have we, I'll say, bonded out?
The final portion of that has not been bonded yet, till we know exactly what our final share is. And quite honestly, that won't be done until the audit is complete. Once that's done, we can borrow the final portion of that. Right now, we have a State House note, which is the equivalent of a ban, to fund our share with the cost of the project. Right now, that's 1.9 million. We won't know until, because there's a holdback by the Commonwealth of Mass of about 5%. We won't know our final share until that audit is complete. So until such time, we have to short-term borrow.
All right. Are we paying principal on those borrowings?
There is a pay-down provision on that. That began after year 2. I think our annual pay-down is $130,000, and we're paying interest on that 1.9 million as well. So once we permanently bond, that pay-down portion is really converted into a long-term debt and interest payment.
Okay, good.
Just on that point, so there's been some delays with, I understand with the HVAC system for the gymnasium, and that's been replaced. Are these delays through some disputes of contractors, whose fault is whose and whatnot? Is that causing us some financial stuff, not be able to close that out and then move into bonding? Is there disputes in the long run causing us some financial issues on our end?
I would say yes. If we were to permanently bond that, there would be a debt and interest obligation, probably at a lower rate of interest in payment. So yes, because if the project is not closed out, we're probably paying a larger share than we should be. I don't think it's a significant portion, but we're trying to save the taxpayers as much money as we can. So the sooner we close this project out, the better off.
Is there anything within the contract that the contractors have not met their obligations in terms of a timeline where we should be looking, or council should be looking to recover some of those monies that we're losing by not closing that project out. So
I think that's been looked at by the school department in terms of the general contractor's obligation under the contract, and I think they've been working with the school department to resolve that. Certainly, I think the general contractor has taken ownership of that, even though the sub may not have met his obligation under the contract, so I think it's finally been resolved.
It has, and I will say that we have been working very closely with them. Our priority was to not sign off on this until we were satisfied that all systems were operating as they should be. So they've been working very closely. We're very, very close to closing this out at this point. So Mr. Fahey does an outstanding job with all of our facilities, this one certainly included. So we feel comfortable that we're in good shape and very close to being done.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, just, I think for the general public, so for the out years for the CIP for the schools, and let's start with 19, 557,000. Fiscal year 20, $1,060,000, that's including the 300,000 for the initial payment on the turf field replacement. 755,000 in 2021, 917,000 in 2022, and 810,000 in 2023. So if there aren't any other questions on this, I guess we're good to go then on the CIP. Dr. Brunel, thank you both.
Thank you.
Definitely do appreciate your time, and good luck with your public hearing.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll have a full house for that.
We
like
typically
usual.
do. But thank you very much. I appreciate your support, everybody.
Absolutely. And
Thank you.
last plug, please support We the People. It's a great,
Absolutely.
great group of people, and hopefully they can get things fully funded for their trip next month.
Yeah, they've got some exciting news coming up that they'll be receiving, but they're working really hard, so thank
Great.
you very much.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we don't have any minutes to review. That means Sharon's up to date. That's great. Next week, we're scheduled to go over the following budgets, including their CIPs, if they have any, town clerk, elections, info technology, Department of Public Services, Cable and Community TV, Department of Development and Inspectional Services, including Public Health Planning, Economic Development, Building Conservation Commission, and Animal Control, the Solid Waste Budget, Zoning Board, and Law Department. Let's just go that far with it. One last check before we close out for the night. I know Ed can't make it next week. Kim also can't make it. Does anyone else have a problem next week?
We'll be in Texas.
You'll be in Texas, so you're going to call, oh, we can't do that, Jed, right? Kidding.
I'll call it.
I'm kidding. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's assume we'll have a quorum on it. I'm not trying to guilt you guys at all. But it's just a matter of planning on getting the rest of these budgets in with our snow day last week. So we'll get that figured out as best we can and, just move forward. So Sharon, thanks for loading up all these budgets on us. That's great stuff.
Oh, by the way, are we expecting snow next week at this
Ed was saying Tuesday.
Tuesday night?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So can we stay in the emergency management bunker in the basement or something and just get these done? All right, unless there's something else, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved? Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Good night.